Hey church, Pastor Shane here with another community group discussion starter video. We're continuing in our series in the book of Joshua. We're in Joshua chapter 2 this week. Here Joshua sends some spies into the land. You may recall, and when the first time Israel got to the land and wouldn't go in and had to wait 40 years to enter it finally, they sent 12 spies in. This time it was only the two because they found two faithful people, wanted to see what was happening in the land. And while there, the men were almost caught, but they were saved by a prostitute named Rahab. And as we looked through the passage, we found that Rahab trusted in the Lord and made a real profession of faith and acted on that faith so that the men would be saved, those spies would be saved, and they could bring their report to Israel. And it was just an encouragement to all of Israel that God is really working for them. Throughout that story, we saw a really key theme, that God desires all people to come to him in grace. And we saw that from his perspective, we saw it from the Israelites' perspective, and that Israel, and really us today, the people of the church, are called to talk and show people God's might and his awesomeness in the way he exercises that towards us. And basically saying God is at work in our lives. We want to be telling people about God. Why would we expect them to trust God if they don't know anything about him? And we have just this amazing opportunity and really obligation to go and tell people about what God is doing in our lives. And to also remember the lesson of Rahab, that no one is too far from God, that he wouldn't bring them the faith. And that we shouldn't count other people out, nor should we forget that we ourselves need grace each and every day. And so today, I hope you talk about that as part of your group time together. Talk about Rahab's faith and talk about how God grabs people and uses unexpected people to do things. How has God shown you grace in your life? Where do you struggle with grace? Or where might you have an opportunity to share grace yourselves? And I'm hoping that by the time you finish your discussion today, you'd be thinking, okay, there's these people that I don't really share my faith with. I don't talk about God with them. Maybe it's time I could share a little bit about what God is doing in my life with them, so they might hear about God's goodness, so that if I get the chance to share the gospel, they know who this God is. They understand he's a God who is all-powerful, who loves and takes care of his people, and ultimately is a God of grace. Have a great discussion.